The key wouldn't turn in the lock. I tried again, jiggling it slightly, thinking maybe it was just stuck. Nothing. I stared at my childhood home's familiar red door, now sporting a shiny new brass lock that definitely hadn't been there this morning. Having trouble, Alexandra? Victoria's voice dripped with false sympathy as she peered through the window. My stepmother of 3 years stood there, perfectly manicured, wearing that signature smirk I'd grown to hate. Victoria, what's going on? Why are the locks changed? I kept my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. Oh, didn't your father tell you? This is my house now. He signed it over to me last week. She held up a document, pressing it against the window glass. You have an hour to collect your things. I've been generous enough to pack most of them. I spotted my boxes and suitcases tossed haphazardly across the front lawn. Some had burst open, my clothes and books scattered like discarded trash. My name is Alexandra Shin, and at 28, I was being locked out of my own home by the woman who married my father after my mother's death. The house I'd grown up in, the one my mom had lovingly restored room by room, was now supposedly in the hands of a woman who'd spent the last 3 years trying to erase every trace of our family's history. Where's Dad? I demanded, already pulling out my phone. On a business trip. He agreed this was for the best. You're too old to still be living at home, Alexandra. Time to grow up. Victoria's smile widened. I'll be renovating your room into a yoga studio. My father would never agree to this. Yes, he'd changed since marrying Victoria. More distant, easily manipulated by her constant complaints about me intruding on their marriage. But this was impossible. I walked back to my car, feeling Victoria's triumphant gaze burning into my back. She probably thought I was giving up, accepting defeat like I'd done so many times before. But this time was different. Opening my glove compartment, I pulled out a thick manila envelope. Important documents my mother had given me before she passed away. Papers I'd never shown anyone, not even my father. You might need these someday, Mom had said, her voice weak but her eyes sharp. Keep them safe, Alexandra. Promise me. I had promised. And last month, when I overheard Victoria on the phone discussing property lawyers, something inside me had clicked. I'd retrieved the envelope and taken it to my own lawyer, just to be sure. Walking back to the door, I dialed 911. Yes, I'd like to report an illegal eviction and property theft, I said loudly enough for Victoria to hear through the window. Her smirk faltered. While waiting for the police, I took photos of my scattered belongings and the new locks. Victoria disappeared from the window, probably calling her lawyer or my father. Let her. I had the truth on my side. 2 police cars pulled up within minutes. Victoria opened the door, all innocent confusion and practiced charm. Officers, there seems to be a misunderstanding. My stepdaughter is having trouble accepting that she needs to move out of her father's house, which he legally signed over to me last week. She presented her document with a flourish. I waited until she finished, then handed the officers my own paperwork. This house was left to me by my mother in a living trust 5 years ago. My father has lifetime residential rights, but no ability to transfer ownership. I have documentation from both the trust lawyer and the county recorder's office confirming this. Victoria's face shifted from smug to shocked to pale in seconds. That's impossible, she stammered. James said he told me. My father may have told you many things, I said calmly, but he couldn't legally give you what was never his to give. Now, would you like to open the door, or should I call a locksmith while the officers supervise? The officers reviewed my documents, made a few calls, then turned to Victoria. Ma'am, you'll need to remove these locks immediately and allow Miss Shin access to her property. Victoria's perfect composure cracked. But I already hired contractors. The renovations start tomorrow. Cancel them, I said firmly. You have 1 hour to pack your things and leave. I'm being generous enough to give you that much time. The officers hid their smiles as I threw her own words back at her. Victoria turned an impressive shade of red before storming upstairs to pack. As she did, I gathered my belongings from the lawn. One officer helped, shaking his head. Should we wait until she's gone? He asked. I nodded, thinking of my mother, her foresight reaching beyond the grave. Yes, please. Something tells me this isn't over. Victoria left in a flurry of designer luggage, her Mercedes peeling out of the driveway. Only when she disappeared around the corner did the officers leave, giving me their direct numbers just in case. Inside the house I walked the halls, my heart sinking. Victoria had already started her renovations. My mother's carefully chosen wallpaper stripped, family photos removed, furniture tagged with stickers. My phone buzzed nonstop with missed calls and angry texts from Victoria. I ignored them. But when Dad's name flashed on the screen I answered. Alexandra, what do you think you're doing? His voice was tight with anger. Victoria called me in tears. How dare you humiliate her like this? How dare I? Something inside me snapped. How dare you, Dad? You tried to give away Mom's house, my house, without even talking to me. I'm your father. This is my house too. And if I decide... No, I cut him off. This stopped being your decision the moment Mom put it in trust for me. Did you even read the paperwork when she died? Or did you just let Victoria convince you that you could do whatever you wanted? Silence. Then softer. Your mother would have wanted. Don't. My voice shook. Don't you dare tell me what Mom would have wanted. She wanted me to have security. A home that couldn't be taken away. That's why she set up the trust. He sighed heavily. Look, Princess. I know Victoria can be difficult, but she's my wife now. We need to make this work. Maybe we can come to some arrangement. The only arrangement, I said firmly, is this. You can continue living here as Mom intended. But this is my house. And Victoria is not welcome to make any changes without my permission. And if that doesn't work for you, you're free to move out and live with her somewhere else. He started to protest, but I ended the call. My hands shook as I set the phone down. Standing up to my father had never been easy, but watching him turn into Victoria's puppet over the past 3 years had been harder. The doorbell rang. Through the window I saw Victoria's daughter Megan standing on the porch looking uncomfortable. Unlike her mother, Megan had always been decent to me, though we weren't close. Hey, she said when I opened the door. I found these in Mom's car. She held out a stack of photo albums, the ones that had gone missing from our family room months ago. I thought he might want them back. I took the albums, touching the familiar worn covers. Thank you, Megan. Would you like to come in? She shook her head. I can't. Mom would freak. But, she hesitated, I wanted you to know I heard her on the phone last week talking to her lawyer about selling the house once it was in her name. She was going to kick both you and James out eventually. My stomach turned. Of course, Victoria had bigger plans. The yoga studio story had been just the beginning. Does Dad know? I asked. Megan shrugged. Mom tells him whatever she wants him to believe. Listen, I should go. She pulled something else from her bag. A small notebook. I found this while helping Mom pack. It looks old, might be important. I opened it and felt my heart stop. It was my mother's garden journal, the one that had disappeared right after she died. Each page was filled with her handwriting, sketches of her beloved garden, pressed flowers, and notes about each plant's meaning. Thank you, I whispered, clutching the journal. This means a lot. After Megan left, I sat in the garden Mom had lovingly tended, reading her journal. The last entry, dated just weeks before she died, read, Alexandra will understand these flowers better than anyone. The house will protect her, and the garden will remind her she's stronger than she knows. My phone buzzed. Another text from Victoria. This isn't over. Your father will choose me over you. I looked at Mom's journal, then at the trust documents on the table beside me. Victoria was right about one thing. This wasn't over. But she had no idea who she was really fighting. This wasn't just about a house anymore. It was about protecting everything my mother had worked to preserve. I typed a quick response. You're right. It's not over, but you might want to check your renovation contracts carefully. This house isn't going anywhere. Then I blocked her number and called my lawyer. It was time to make sure Victoria understood exactly what she was up against. The next morning, the rumble of a moving truck woke me. Victoria stood directing movers toward the house, my father hovering anxiously beside her. Just the antique pieces, she called out, pointing to Mom's cherished furniture. Everything else can go to donation. I opened the front door before they reached the porch. Stop right there. Victoria's eyes narrowed. James, tell your daughter to stop being difficult. We're just taking a few things to our new apartment until this situation is resolved. These pieces belong to the house, I said firmly, holding up a document. They're listed in the trust inventory. Nothing leaves this property without my permission. My father stepped forward, face pleading. Princess, be reasonable. Victoria and I need some furniture for our temporary place. Then buy some, I replied. These pieces stay. Victoria's face turned red. James, are you going to let her talk to us like this? Do something. But my father's eyes caught something behind me. His face went pale. Standing in the doorway was my mother's sister, Aunt Diana, along with my lawyer. Hello, James, Diana said coolly. Going somewhere with my sister's antiques? Victoria whipped her head toward them. Who are you? James, who is this? I'm the trust co-executive, Diana replied. And you must be Victoria. We haven't met, but I've heard all about your renovation plans. The moving truck driver looked uncomfortable. Ma'am, should we start loading or? My lawyer interjected. In fact, I suggest you leave now. Any removal of items from this property without the trust owner's permission would constitute theft. Victoria grabbed my father's arm. James, tell them you gave me permission. He couldn't. Diana said. He never had the authority to give permission. Now I suggest you both leave before we need to involve the police again. The movers quickly departed, leaving Victoria and my father standing in the driveway. Victoria's perfect composure had completely crumbled. This is ridiculous, she shrieked. James, we can fight this. Call your lawyer. My father looked lost, eyes moving between Victoria and the house he'd shared with my mother for 20 years. For the first time he seemed to really see her, not as the charming woman who had swept him off his feet, but as someone trying to take everything his late wife had built. No, he said quietly. No more fighting. Victoria's jaw dropped. What? No, he repeated, voice growing stronger. Alexandra is right. This was Margaret's house and now it's hers. I was wrong to try to change that. You weak, pathetic. Victoria's words dissolved into incoherent anger as she stormed to her car, engine roaring. This isn't over, she screamed through the window before speeding away. My father stood in the driveway, looking older and smaller than I'd ever seen him. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Your mother. She would be so disappointed in me. Come inside, Dad, I said softly. We need to talk. Over coffee in the kitchen. The kitchen where Mom had taught me to bake, where we'd shared countless family meals. My father broke down. He told me how Victoria had slowly convinced him that selling the house would help him move on, how she had manipulated his grief and guilt into weapons against his own daughter. I'll move out, he said, staring into his coffee. Find my own place. You shouldn't have to deal with me after what I did. No, I replied, thinking of Mom's trust provisions. This is your home too. She wanted you to stay here. But things need to change. Later that evening, after Dad had gone to his room, Aunt Diana helped me go through Mom's garden journal. Among the pressed flowers and planting notes, we found something else. Letters Mom had written to me in her final months, full of advice, love, and strength. Your father will lose his way for a while, one letter read. But the man I loved is still in there. The house will shelter you both until he finds himself again. 6 months later, the garden blooms just as Mom planned. Dad spends his weekends helping me restore what Victoria tried to change, slowly finding his way back to himself. We heard she moved to another state, already married to someone new. Sometimes, sitting in Mom's garden, I can almost hear her voice in the rustle of leaves. You're stronger than you know, Alexandra. The house was never just about property. It was about preserving love, memories, and the courage to stand your ground. She was right as always. This house isn't just walls and furniture. It's a legacy of strength passed from mother to daughter. And now it's my